Hi everyone, my name is Joseph. Today I want to discuss The Ones Who Live, The Walking Dead spin-off that featured Rick and Michonne, which first premiered on February 25th, 2024, and ended on March 31st, 2024. It was a 6-episode season. It was promoted as a limited series event, and up to this point, they're keeping true to that word. There has been no word about a season 2 going to be released. And this is actually the first time on my channel where I did individual reviews for each episode. Typically, I'll either do a review for the season of a series, an individual season of a series, or the series as a whole. But the reason why I don't want to use the word decided or chose is because I ended up doing these individual videos because I'm a huge Rick Grimes fan specifically. So in my excitement, when I first did my first video, it's just meant to be a thinking about video. But then the episode 2, episode 3 came out, and I was very much excited and happy to be back with these characters that I enjoyed so much that it just kind of converted into a review video. So that's why, again, I don't want to say chose or decided. But yeah, so this is the first time on my channel where I have a show with with reviews for each episode. And with that being said, it's kind of an interesting that it happened with this show just because it did start off, in my opinion, very strongly. But it kind of petered out. Not that it ended in such a way where I disliked the season, but it ended in such a way where I do feel like the story is concluded. And if I do rewatch the show, it's going to be rewatching it when I rewatch The Walking Dead proper, so the main series. So right now I'm doing a rewatch. In fact, I'm in the middle of season 3. Yeah, season 3. The middle of season 3. So this means that I'll probably be watching The Ones Who Live once I finish season 9. Where Rick gets departed from the rest of the show or separated. And yeah, so I won't be ignoring this season. But what I mean, what I said earlier is that I probably won't be watching this season individually as its own separate show. So even though it's not called The Walking Dead, it's called The Ones Who Live. I'm probably just going to watch this as an attachment to The Walking Dead. And the reason being for that is because so the way that the show ends, I just felt like it ended too quickly. So although I did say that the first half of the season, I was fine with it. I felt like it was strong. One element that a lot of people did highlight, myself included, was the pacing of the first half of the season. And I felt like the first half, it warranted that pacing. In fact, if you watch my previous videos, you see that I do explain that it makes sense. The writers are aware they only have 6 episodes. They have a specific story they want to tell, and they want the characters to go through specific plot beats. Thus, the pacing has to go a certain way. Either they have enough story time to tell the full context for the main beats they want to go across, or unfortunately, they're going to have to cut some corners, and rather than doing some showing, they're just going to tell us, such as, or rather, do some extreme showing rather than telling us. A really good example about this would be in episode 2, when Michonne gets separated from her new cast of Community, Nat and those other 2 individuals. I forgot their names, unfortunately. And yet in the next scene, she's literally in a building, safe and sound, with that specific group, despite being in a bigger group, right? So what a coincidence that she was able to find the 3 people that she was specifically looking for and didn't end up finding some of the random people that she was a part of, right? So stuff like that, I understood why they did that. The show just didn't have the time to show us Michonne finding one character, the second, and then third character, the group, and then maybe finding some random characters here and there, and seeing, well, we did see how the chlorine gas affected random individuals, but also seeing maybe Michonne protecting her group of friends from people turning as they turn into walkers, because we also did see people who died kind of converting into walkers too. So in terms of pacing in that regard, I was fine and willing to excuse, because I saw, or rather not that I saw, but I understood the tough objective that these writers had. With that being said, by the time the season ends, I felt like the pacing was it wasn't even the pacing of the story itself, it was just the pacing of the conclusion. So spoilers, but the story ends with the defeat of the CRM. The Civil Republic has now taken control of the military faction of the CRM, and the Red Line faction, the individuals that was in charge of doing the genocidal experiments, chlorine gas upon groups of random communities, they got removed from power. And I don't mind that whatsoever, but before the last episode premiered, I was under the impression, my expectations was that, so I was not delusional thinking there would be a season 2, even though I was hoping there was going to be one. But I was hoping that the story of the CRM was going to be continued through the show, The Walking Dead's other spinoffs. So through Dead City, Daryl Dixon, and I can't think of any of the spin-offs. I think that's the only two that's on the docket as of right now. But I was hoping again that the story of the CRM wouldn't be concluded. That the only portion of the CRM within the Ones Who Live that would be concluded was going to be Rick's departure from the CRM and his reunion with the cast that we all got to know and love through the main show. But unfortunately, what the writers decided to do instead was completely resolve the CRM situation. They cut off all the heads of the snake as a cheesy expression, right? So the heads of the leadership has all been decimated, not even decimated, just completely removed. Decimation means to not completely annihilate, but annihilate most of the group. In this instance, all the Redliners were completely obliterated. So I don't think any of the Redliners are existing after the last episode. They've been removed from the playing field. And I guess part of me why I'm disappointed about that ending is because of the actor that they chose to represent the leader of the CRM. I don't know the actor's proper name, but Major BL, or portrayed by the individual who played John Locke from Lost. I think I gotten any other no-name actor who had expressed that same kind of demeanor. And I think that's doable to find a no-name actor to have that same mannerism, giving off the impression of military might and authority and just discipline. I think most of the audience would have understood that the story of the CRM was going to be quote unquote minor, as in it's just a backdrop for Rick's story. But having such a beloved character betray Major Bell, or actor, excuse me, having such a beloved actor betray Major Bell, I think that was a misstep that unfortunately caused the audience to believe that the CRM was going to play a much larger and main role in the story. Essentially, the CRM was present in the Walking Dead's main story, but just as boogeymen, like for the kidnapping of Heath, the card that stated PPP, Jadis and the her secret meetings, the helicopter, of course, since season 1. And then when we finally do discover about the CRM, we don't discover much about their civilian side, just a little bit. We don't discover even much about the military side, just one specific faction of it, and then everything's done. The story is over, and I guess I'm gonna have to wait and see what they'll do with the CRM. But it seems like why would they mention the Civil Republic from here on out? It seems like the Civil Republic has turned a new leaf, and they're going to be assisting other groups that they discover. So instead of being isolationists, they're going to start building bridges in the same way that Rick wanted to do when he first, fortunately, got removed from the show. As a quick reminder, he was trying to build a bridge that was going to make traveling and trading between the communities, Alexandria, Oceanside, Hilltop, more manageable and streamlined. But then unfortunately the story occurred and Rick had to blow up that bridge. But I don't think it's a coincidence that symbolically the CRM ends with building bridges as well through the utilization of their resources. They have a great amount of resources compared to other communities. Quite literally, they have helicopters, not just attack helicopters, but transport helicopters as well. And in fact, the reason why Michonne and Rick are able to get back to their home, Alexandria, is because they utilize those transport helicopters. And the show ends with showing 3 transport helicopters flying away, again really emphasizing that it's looking like the CRM is going to be a positive ally in maintaining relationships and maintaining communication. So as a whole, I understand why the Ones Who Live needed to end in the way that it did. At the same time, I'm just not satisfied with that conclusion. I would have preferred instead as having Rick and Michonne succeed in destroying the private secret information that Jadis had in secret. This information that would have allowed the CRM to discover where Rick came from and thus initiate a counterattack. I would have preferred it instead if Rick was able to, if he needed to kill Major Bell, at the very least have other CRM characters being able to pick up that mantle of knowing what to do next, like through Thorne, for example. And I haven't even mentioned Thorne. I haven't talked about her too much. It's actually quite unfortunate too, because I actually did like her character. When she first appeared, I was neutral towards her, but as we kept learning more about her, I was really hopeful that Thorne would be a character that would turn a new leaf and maybe help Rick in some way. And it seemed like she did want to help reform the CRM. She really was pro Okafor, but unfortunately, Thorne ends up being killed off with everyone else, all the Redliners, the Red faction, and so she's just a character that was introduced for the Ones Who Live, and nothing beyond that. And again, I'm just a little bit disappointed about that, because so many of the side characters that were introduced in the Ones Who Live, such as Nat, Thorne, Okafor, Major Bill. They were all great, interesting characters. Even the one character at the start of the show, I forgot his name. I think Ernesto, the one who helped Rick get that idea to join the CRM and then possibly escape. Even he was a lot of fun. I was really hoping to get more information about these individuals, but unfortunately, it's looking like whatever was told about these characters is just going to be told within this set storyline, the ones who live. So at the end, though, would I recommend the ones who live? During my individual videos, I was saying for the most part, yes. It wasn't until the end where I said, the reason why I was saying yes is because if it really did feel like the ones who live was more a romantic story about these two characters. If one had watched The Walking Dead, okay, cool, that's awesome. You have context for these two characters being Rick and Michonne. But if you didn't watch it, that's also okay because I felt like the ones who lived did a good job of presenting Rick within the show and then also presenting Michonne within the show by itself. No need to watch the previous material. But by the time that it ends, actually, I realized this while talking about it. I feel like for Walking Dead fans, we're probably going to be the ones who are unsatisfied with the ending the most. But for everyone else who did not watch The Walking Dead and then watch The Ones Who Live, for those who only have experience with The Ones Who Live, I think the ending might be a bit more digestible for those individuals because they're not going to be aware about the roots that the CRM has in the main show. So, to reiterate, would I recommend this show? If you haven't seen any of The Walking Dead, approach this show as a romance story between two characters who have been separated, and I think one could have a pretty good time. And if you enjoyed the two characters that you just experienced a story for, then maybe you want to check out the main story that they're from, The Walking Dead. For those of us who did watch The Walking Dead and watch The Ones Who Live, would I recommend this show? It's a tentative yes, but just go in with your expectations in check and also go in knowing that there's going to be no continuation. More than likely, I'm saying this with no Dixon Season 2 is not out yet and there's no new Walking Dead material. But more than likely, the CRM story is not going to continue. And if you do come back to the CRM, it's going to be specifically the Silver Republic, so the CR, and they're probably going to be serving as allies rather than an antagonist force. So those will be my answers. To reiterate what I recommend, The Ones Who Live, for those who've never seen The Walking Dead, yes, it's a fun little romp. For those who have seen The Walking Dead, go in with your expectations in check. It's a tentative yes, but be prepared to be a little bit disappointed with some elements of the storytelling. As always, I do appreciate everyone so much for watching. If you did watch The Ones Who Live, what's your opinion? Please do let me know. Am I being overly critical? Am I being too judgmental? Like, for example, I'm not going to lie, one element of the show that I could have done less with was the amount of comedic romance, or as in the amount of time that Rick and Michonne were being intimate with one another. I didn't mind the first time, but there was one episode specifically where it just kept going towards intimacy. Even at the start of the next episode, so episode 4 and 5 is what I'm talking about. There was still some elements of that intimacy, but thankfully it evened out, and so I went back to the regular storytelling. But all in all, I did enjoy the show. As a big fan of Rick Grimes, I'm really happy that he is back. I am sad that it might be the end for sure of the Rick Grimes story, but at least we have a conclusive story, a conclusive end to Rick Grimes' story, and they did a good job of really quickly. I was never a fan of Judith Grimes, but in this instance, I did appreciate the interaction she had with Rick and Michonne. And even RJ, again, not a big fan of him as well. And even with his spotty dialogue, his one line that was quite cringe and cheesy, pardon me, in the show. I don't blame the actor, I blame the writers. But I think the writers did a good job and the actor did a good job of just demonstrating through their body language how Rick was nervous but also excited of meeting this new individual, this son that he's never met before, right? So I don't know if that was purposeful or by accident, just the body language being a little bit nervous. But I think it really helped with the story as overall because, again, Rick literally held Judith. He may not have never been able to speak with her, but he did hold Judith in his arms, was able to see her grow a little bit. But with RJ, he's just a brand new person, right? Supposedly his son. And of course, Rick is not going to doubt that. But if this was in today's time, Rick will be like, "Was there proof for that?" Right? So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone. And hopefully this won't be the last time I talk about Rick Grimes, not from past episodes, but being able to talk about him in like some kind of cameo and Michonne as well. I'm not looking forward to, I am hoping that in the season 2 of Daryl Dixon, if Rick won't be shown, at the very least, some kind of phone call is going to be had, some phone call or radio conversation. So again, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day and take care.